everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Snakebite. Having a lot of fun before the shoot today, but a lot more fun will be coming here as we have a lot to talk about. Men's basketball, women's basketball, and a lot more on this week's edition of the Snakebite. We're starting off the show with the number 12 nationally ranked men's basketball team again, as they've continued their winning ways, extending their winning streak to 4 straight now with their victory over the Augusta Jaguars. The Mocs had trouble at the start as the Jaguars defense defined the first half, disrupting the Mocs offensive attack and slowing the pace to keep the Mocs to 28 points in the first half, the fewest amount of points scored in a half this season and since the regional final when they lost to Nova last year. But the second half was a completely different story with this week's SSC Defensive Player of the Week, Amari Miller, putting on a defensive clinic with 6 points and 4 blocks in just the second half, putting him with a final stat line of 10 points, 5 boards, 4 on the offensive glass, and 6 blocks. The Mocs built off the grit and grind nature of the game in the second, putting up 22 points in the paint while pushing the pace in their 50-point second half, putting the Jaguars just out of reach in the 78-68 comeback win. Payne Gerald led the way for the Mocs in the point column with 17 in his second start in the red and white, and Florida Southern will now focus upon their second SSC matchup of the season against the Palm Beach Atlantic Sailfish, who have dominated the glass in every single game they've played so far this year, helping them to stay 3-0. The Mocs will look to get back on track with their rebounding, as they've been out-rebounded in their last 3 games despite the win streak after being the top rebounding team in the country last year. The clash on the glass will be Saturday at 7:30 at the George Jenkins Fieldhouse. If you can't make it, I'll be on the mic. Make sure to tune in on the SSC Digital Network.
The women's basketball team continues to search for consistent quality play as they still search for a strong opening to their contest, as they found themselves in a deficit going into the second quarter of every game, including against Puerto Rico Mayaguez this Tuesday. The Mocs had their usual slow start and found themselves down 23-13 against the Janes, a team the Mocs were 8-0 against in program history before a resurgence by Florida Southern in the second quarter, led by Reagan White and Gianna Voss, who put the Mocs up 36-31 at halftime. When the second half began, the Mocs fell flat again as they were held to just 9 points in the third quarter and found themselves down 3 going into the fourth, before Catalina Ion had a career quarter going perfect from the floor to score 10 points in the quarter and put the Mocs over Puerto Rico Mayaguez in the 68-55 contest. Sydney Gomes led all individuals with 19 points, while Lily Randgard made sure the glass was squeaky clean with 16 boards. Florida Southern will look to take on PBA in their first in-conference game of the season this Saturday at the George Jenkins Fieldhouse at 5:30. The game will also be streamed live on the Sunshine State Conference Digital Network.
It was an exciting weekend for Mocs hockey as they got their first series sweep of the year in a matchup against College Hockey South Division II rivals University of Miami Hurricanes. Game 1 of the series was a tightly contested matchup, with the Mocs stealing a big win for playoff standings 4-3 over Miami thanks to goals from Colton Wyden, Michael Wohl, and Will Marshall. Vincent Simonian had another strong showing to keep the Mocs in it in the defensive affair, and the Mocs were dominant in their highest scoring game of the year, with everyone finding the back of the net in the second game of the series as the Mocs piled on 8 goals, including 5 in the second period. It wasn't all goals for the Mocs, as Jason Cribbs held it down in the net, giving up only 5 goals in the win. Colton Wyden and Will Marshall both recorded a hat trick in the win, with Paul Rigolini and Jonathan Burkhart finding the back of the net as well. Colton Wyden and Will Marshall took control of the series and never looked back, both recording 7 points in the 2-game series. This series against Miami closed out the 2024 play for the Mocs, who return to action at home against the University of Central Florida before hitting the road to battle Florida Atlantic University.
The volleyball team has won 2 of their last 3 since our last show, starting off last Wednesday in a dominant 3-0 sweep at St. Leo. Dynamic duo Sandra Suzuki and Maddie Fowler once again led the game with double-digit kills in the victory on the road. The Mocs closed out their last away game of the season in Miami Shores against Barry, where Mary-Kate Mulvaney had 10 assists and 5 digs, but it was no match for the Buccaneers as they claimed a 3-0 blowout win. Yesterday, the Mocs had another dominant showing against St. Leo at home, winning 3-1 thanks to a number of contributors, including Mulvaney, who dished out 24 assists and a career-best 6 service aces. The Mocs as a whole hit .330, the second highest hitting percentage this season, and the Mocs are now 14-12 and ranked 9th in the South region as they prepare to finish out the regular season against Florida Tech and Nova Southeastern this weekend.
The women's soccer team's season came to an end this past Tuesday against Edward Waters, and the matchup was a battle from the jump, with the Tigers scoring within the first 2 minutes of play, but the Mocs were able to respond with a quick goal themselves from Jasmine Adamas. That was the start of a goal fest, though, as the Tigers pounced on opportunity after opportunity in the first half, scoring 2 more goals before halftime hit. Action didn't slow in the second half as Ashley Schimberg scored yet another goal for the Mocs, this one assisted from Riley Hasegawa, 2 players I'll mention in a moment. Edward Waters then responded with a goal of their own, which was too much for the Mocs to match, as the duo of Schimberg and Hasegawa struck again for the third and final goal of the game for the Mocs in the 3-4 loss. Florida Southern ended their season with an overall record of 5-7-5 and 1-5-4 in conference play. Despite not making the conference tournament, Ashley Schimberg was named first team All-SSC as she found the back of the net 11 times and was joined by sophomore Riley Hasegawa on the All-SSC teams, with Hasegawa being selected for All-SSC third team. And that's it for this week's edition of the Snakebite, and big shout out to Darcy Moffitt as well, making the All-SSC teams, All-SSC second team for him. And then also our tennis team continuing to show out, with Mario Garros being ranked 38th in the country in ITA singles play. That's it for this week's edition of the Snakebite. See you next week.